now that I've gotten this out of the way, I can now talk about the important one to watch before It Chapter 2 is out. Let's talk about it. That gets confusing. So just like the last one, It is based off the novel by Stephen King, but unlike the last one, it focuses on just one half of the book, which is about the kids. It is probably one of the only books I can think of that needed to be split into two, since that stupid gimmick was started by Harry Potter, and other studios started doing it to milk as much from those franchises as possible. But we're not here to talk about that, we're here to talk about It. Now, I won't go over the basic story of It, because I explained it in the last video, so I don't need to go over that again. However, It is a major improvement over It. Everything the miniseries does, the movie does better. The biggest change from It and the miniseries and the book is that rather than being set in the late 50s, the movie is set in the late 80s, which would mean that It Chapter 2 is set in the 2010s. Just like the miniseries, they removed both the ritual of Chud and Maturin. However, Maturin really wouldn't fit in with this movie, but they do remind you of him in the form of Georgie's Lego turtle. Before I talk about positives, I do want to talk about what's pretty much the only negative I have, which it relies a bit much on jump scares. Other than that, it's a near perfect horror movie and one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. Now let's talk about what's good. Bill Skarsgård is fantastic as Pennywise. While Tim Curry may have been more enjoyable to watch, Bill is actually scarier. Except in this shot, he looks kind of like a retarded hyena. Before this came out, I was kind of worried about Bill as Pennywise. I thought he looked kind of baby-faced and didn't care for his appearance. But after actually watching him in the movie, I love him in this role. And the fact that his eyes aren't moving isn't CGI is really impressive. And I love this. Now the Losers Club. They are a lot more entertaining in this than they are in the miniseries. Seriously, I love these guys. One thing worth mentioning is that instead of Mike being the history buff, it's Ben in this version. And with this change, we do get a pretty good scene in the library. As I said in the last video, my favorite character was Richie, and that still very much applies here. Finn Wolfhard is absolutely hilarious as Richie. This line from him is actually my favorite line in the movie.
And he was nearly killed! And look at this motherfucker! He's leaking hamburger helper!
Every scene he's in is hilarious, and I'm looking forward to see what Bill Hader would do with this character. But if you ask me, I would have chosen Danny Sexbang. All of these characters are great and likable, and when they face off against It, it's awesome. The only character I didn't really like was Henry Bowers, but you're not really supposed to. However, I'm kind of curious as to how he gets out of the well, because he's going to be in It Chapter 2, and I don't know how we'll get out of that. Now, as I said earlier, the movie does rely a bit much on jump scares, but there are some scares that are good, like the scene with the projector is amazing. Kind of reminds me of the book scene from the miniseries, but better. I love the scene with Pennywise and the kids in the abandoned house, and that part where Pennywise rips off Georgie's arm is a little hard to watch. As I said in the last video, I was a little worried about It Chapter 2 because the second half with the adults wasn't as interesting as the first half with the kids. But I found another reason. This movie was co-written by Gary Doberman, and the only other good thing he's written was Annabelle Creation, and even that is nowhere near as good as this. But he's also written Annabelle, The Nun, The Curse of La Llorona, and Annabelle Comes Home. What do all those movies have in common? Well, being part of the Conjuring universe. But the other thing they really have in common is that they all suck. I'd say that 2017 was his only good year, but hopefully It Chapter 2 is good. And apparently he's writing a theatrical Salem's Lot adaptation. Also, it will be the second Stephen King movie this year. Just hope it's better than Pet Sematary. So yeah, I love It. It's better and scarier than the miniseries, and was one of my top 10 favorite films of 2017. I love this movie, and I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5. Come back this weekend for a review of It Chapter 2, and if you want more of me, subscribe, and I have my gaming channel and all my social medias in the description, so you can check those out if you want.